Ben. It's great to be here with the Accountantsworld audience, and I would ask them to be interactive. I don't know if you didn't mention the question capability, but I assume that's open. If people have questions during the presentation, they'll be able to ask them. Is that correct, Ben? Hello,
I'm
Ben,
on mute. Sorry about that. Yes, they will be able to ask questions. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to unmute myself. I didn't want to step on your toes. Yes, they can ask questions during the presentation.
And there's just one. I'm going to go into. Let me just go back. Set this up into the slideshow mode. Get that there. Hold on. Fantastic. Okay, and I can see the questions as well. But Ben, I'm going to let you drive there because I'll be working the presentation. If a question comes in, please do just stop me and let's address it. Unless it's a maybe just a technical question that you could answer via the chat function.
Absolutely.
Ben, so thanks. As Ben said, my name is Erik Asgeirsson. I'm president and CEO of CPA.com. I'm honored to be here today. I have the privilege of meeting with firms around the country regularly, but I also have the opportunity to meet with the executives and management teams of many of these leading companies, and Accountantsworld is one of them, as well as thought leaders and consultants. A number of the people that are in the Accountantsworld expert webinar series, I know all of them. And what I'm going to be presenting today is really just information and learnings that we gather from meeting with firms, understanding their best practices, understanding how they're building success, meeting with these other, partnering with these other technology companies, be it Accountantsworld, be it Intact, be it Bill.com, and CPA.com. We're also delivering these services. So we're on the field with the firms, and there's no better way to understand what's working and what's not than by providing those services. And if you think about CPA.com, we're an AI CPA company. We're a subsidiary. We're the technology portal of the AI CPA, and we were created about a decade ago. And the mission of CPA.com is to empower CPAs and businesses for the digital age, and really to bring the practical side of building a firm to the overall AI CPA mission, and that's really what we're doing. And I think as I get through the presentation, you're going to hear from me, best practices related to what we're seeing on the technology side. But I'm also actually going to talk about some evolving standards, and you'll hear from me about how firms are adopting these standards and working them into the practice, and that's important because it's not just about technology. It's about just the continuing evolution of the practice of accounting, and with that, you're always going to have audit and tax changes, and you need to address those as you evolve your technology strategy. So let me move to the next slide, and before I do here, I think we've got now our first polling question. Is that up, Ben?
Jonathan, yes, if you can put the first poll question up. There it is right there on the screen right now for everybody.
Yeah, so you heard a little bit about me. So now I want to find out a little bit about you. I just want to look at my audience. It's always important for me to understand what percentage of you are in public practice, business and industry, or in education, or potentially government. So appreciate you all voting here.
Okay, if everyone can take the time and just submit your votes, that would be great. We'll leave it open for another 15 or 20 seconds.
Okay, so what I see here is about 3/4 of you are in public practice. We've got about 15% in business and industry. We've got some students out there, a small 1%, and 9% other. That's probably we've got some people in government and education there. Well, what I'm going to be talking about is absolutely relevant to public practice, but business and industry as well. And when you think about what's happening here today with with technology and the cloud, it's absolutely changing the practice of accounting, both in the firm and in public practice. And when we think about, our mission of empowering CPAs in the digital world, and when I think about my discussions with firms, there's three key areas. It's the technology, it's the strategy and change management of the firm, and it's the talent development. And what I can tell you is, and this is kind of indicated by the size of these circles, the most important actually is the strategy and change management and talent development. Those are the keys to building a successful practice, because believe it or not, the technology is the easy part. We've had an explosion in the accounting space over the last 5 years of different solutions. There's a lot of solutions that are maturing now, some great vendor training. And in many cases, there's probably a couple of technology solutions in each area that could meet your needs. So one of the mistakes is just to jump into your planning and say, okay, what do I need for my cloud accounting package? What do I need related to managing bill payment, or if I'm thinking about here's a new topic that we're working on, building out a SALT practice, sales and use tax practice, and what technology platform do I want? You don't want to go there first. Where you want to go first is to think more about, and let's just go into client accounting, because I know a lot of the people here on this call are in that area, and I'm going to be talking more about it. But if you are building out a client accounting practice, what you need to first figure out is potentially what verticals do you really want to focus in. What's your pricing strategy? There's a lot of different variations there. What's your staffing strategy? What's the development plan? And start working through some of those basic components, and then you'll be in a much better position to think about the technology decision. And I'll tell you, that's where we're putting more and more energy into our strategy and change management, change leadership courses in our talent development. So a little bit more about CPA.com. The power of smart business. That's our tagline, and that's really what we're seeing. We're working. What I like to say is we're working with progressive firms, and these are firms of all of all sizes, but they're kind of progressive, and they are looking at doing things differently. They're thinking about future readiness. They're constantly looking at the changing technology and regulatory landscape, and that's what we're doing. Staying relevant. That's a very, very important topic in the world today, with all the disruption that's going on, and capitalizing on opportunities ahead. One thing I'll say is there's never been a better time to be in public practice, or I think to be in accounting, because there's tremendous opportunities with the technology capabilities and the complexity. The value prop of the firm just continues to increase. But there are things you need to do right to drive that increasing value prop. I'll talk more about that, but the last thing you want to do is compete with automation. So you got to think about how you're gonna drive your value. So what I'm going to do in today's discussion, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we call the digital imperative behind smart business. I'm going to talk about what we think is the changing era for accounting services. Talk a little bit about how we're seeing the technology landscape evolve and change, and then this idea of staying relevant. I'll dig a little bit deeper into that. So, what is driving a lot of these firms? And this is what I can tell you. It's being driven by clients. The technology revolution that we're in started out on the consumer side. The modern kind of last 12 years, and if you really think about the explosion that's happened, it's Google, Facebook, Apple, the iPad. So it's all on the consumer side. But now is this all has evolved into business. When you look at the CPA firms, the clients are driving a lot of this. And this slide here takes away a couple of bullets from a presentation that I was at with the CEO, the former CEO of KPMG. And this is, that's actually, it's a very big firm, but I could have taken this type of information from a small and mid-sized firm as well, based on their discussions that I've heard with their clients. And what he stated is, in his career, he's never seen the level of business transformation of their business clients. 75% of the clients feel like they're in some type of business transformation, and that businesses today are, really focusing on the relevance of their services and their value proposition. So with that going on with your small business clients, it is absolutely critical that firms are looking at how they're providing their services, because there are firms that are dramatically changing the way they deliver their services, and they're going to be much better positioned with these business clients that are going through this type of business transformation. And what we did over the past 6 months is we're always doing some primary research, white papers, trying to understand what's going on. A few years back, we did a white paper with Jeffrey Moore, one of the leading technology and business strategists of our time, and and all of these white papers are available on CPA.com for no charge. And we looked at kind of how client accounting was evolving. What we decided to do this past year was just to do some primary research on where CPAs stand and where the firms stand, how future ready are they. I'm just going to, this is an infographic, I'm just going to call out a couple of the points. Only 10% of the, so you can see how you fit in here. Only, if you look at the upper right-hand corner here, only 10% of the CPAs feel that they're innovative. And we view that as a positive. It's a very self-aware group. 82% say they need to better understand innovation. And then if you go in the lower left-hand side of this slide, the changing role of the CPA, 80% think that their role will change significantly by 2025. So this is what we looked at is a positive, because 10% feel that they're innovative, but 80% believe that their role is going to significantly change. So here it is, this acknowledgement that there needs to be more education and more engagement to really be where they need to be by 2025. And there's also a lot of discussion in the profession about talent and the changing workforce. And I think we're seeing technology play a role there. In globalization, we're continuing to see more and more of the small firms out there, play a role with some international opportunities. So, looking at the firm service lines, we at CPA.com, and we formerly, our name was CPA to Biz. We changed that over the past, year or so, and that the new name is really resonating well. It's a move we were looking to make for some time, and we were finally able to get the CPA.com asset. But just looking at the different firm service lines, we, for the past 5 or 6 years, and this is a lot what Accountantsworld, I know they do a lot of, they have a lot of focus here. We focused a lot on what we're calling the BPO practice here on this slide. You can call it client accounting as well. And it seems like Gary Boomer is going to be giving a talk on it in a couple of weeks. And we view this as, it's a transforming opportunity. You're really, helping small businesses enter the information age due to cloud computing, and just great revenue opportunity. I'll be talking more about that. But what we're beginning to see is the bigger impact of the cloud and technology in the tax and audit area. I think over the next year, you're going to see firms, playing a bigger role in sales tax compliance. There's the Marketplace Fairness Act that there's a lot of legislation down in Washington D.C. Related to taxing small businesses, changing the nexus, rules, and that's going to add a compliance burden on small businesses. And the firms have a great opportunity to support that, and they're going to be using technology platforms to do that. So that's just one example. In the audit area, there is more and more kind of involvement to cloud-based audit solutions. Analytics is playing a bigger role there. So we think over the next few years, you're going to see a lot more happening in the tax and audit space. And actually, those are things that we're going to be making some announcements this fall related to some new solutions that we're going to be bringing to market. This past fall, we had Nicholas Carr at our digital CPA event, and he's someone who's really helped make sense. He's a best-selling author, and he has written a number of defining books. He wrote The Big Shift a few years back. He really is making sense of a lot of these technology changes. And one thing that he states is that in times of disruption, the bridge builders win. And I had a number of discussions with him, and this really applies to the role that the profession is playing with businesses, and how they are helping these small businesses enter the information age. And we really think this is one of the big opportunities for the profession is in the changing era of accounting services. So let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into what we're seeing in the changing value prop. And just let me see if we've got any questions. I'm just going to pause here, Ben, see if we've got any questions that have come in.
No questions as of the moment.
Okay, great. When you look at the opportunity here to provide these outsourced accounting services, there are a couple of things you do need to think about. And this slide here shows today and tomorrow, and tomorrow really has arrived. And what we're seeing is that there's a decline in what we're calling transactional bookkeeping. And if that is what you're doing, write-up work, bookkeeping services, you're going to begin to really bump into, just automation. And there's, if this could be, I've heard from, the CEO of Intuit that he looks at, when he looks at the market growth potential, he looks at CPA firms as having, good, growth potential in the years ahead. He obviously views the software the software business. He feels that in the trends are showing it related to providing small business software solutions, be it a QuickBooks solution, be it a tax solution, as increasing. But a decline and you can look at H&R Block and see that there's pressures on the low end, and they're actually in decline. So what this, how you need to think about this is, CPA firms, if they're playing a specialized role, focusing on a vertical, focusing on supporting franchise businesses, not-for-profits. I know a small firm on the West Coast region that's a group of 10 individuals that's supporting charter school startups. So all of that, you're saying this is a category that we're going to use automation, use technology to kind of build a solution set around, provide business insights. The margins are great. We're seeing firms bill between 2,000 and 10,000 a month for those services. And again, but I am seeing some firms still providing the horizontal services, trying to be in every single category, and they're competing with individuals that don't have the financial education of a CPA, just basic bookkeepers, and those rates we're seeing go down and down. So something that this group clearly needs to think about, where's their practice going. And if you want to just take a historical look back, I think this puts it all in perspective. Client accounting over the past 20 years, back in the early 90s, that's when QuickBooks first came out, and it was introduced to small businesses, and it was like, you can now do it all. But about a decade later, small businesses said, I really need to focus on my business, and they pushed that work back to the firms. And then really today, today's opportunity with the cloud, makes it a reality that firms can play that trusted business advisor role. They can do all the cloud accounting, do all the bill payment, do all the payroll, and do it in a way that actually is lower cost than a business owner of, say, 3 franchises would do, with a one or two person finance team, but do it in a much higher value way. So they're replacing 1 or 2 bodies with this outsourced accounting services practice, and they're really providing a virtual controller type of service. And this is how we look at it. We've built this kind of ramp chart, and so the first slide, 2 slides ago, I talked about that transactional write-up. Sometimes it's always been a means to an end, but you really need to be thinking about, are you building a business process outsourcing shop with all the capabilities? Are you beginning to go into the virtual controllership? One thing that we're thinking about is budgeting and forecasting, and I think that the basic components of providing outsourced accounting services is the cloud accounting component, the bill payment, the payroll component. But those are going to be, we like to say table stakes, just give you a seat at the table. And now firms that are thinking to advance those practices are thinking about things like where am I in the budgeting and forecasting capability, where am I in kind of doing more advanced kind of tax compliance services. And what I'm highlighting here in the bottom part of the slide is the categories that we're seeing great success in: property management, charter schools, franchises, retail, technology, startups, absolutely, professional services, doctors' offices, dentist offices, not-for-profit, and healthcare. What you also are seeing, and sometimes if I was doing this presentation in person for you, I'd play a couple of videos. Videos sometimes don't work well on these webinars, so I don't do them. But I'll tell you that what firms are doing, what is happening now is that firms are beginning to get their arms around the messaging and the marketing of their client accounting services. There's a couple of 2-3 minute videos that highlight the value prop really well. Here's a print brochure from WIS. A good site. Many of you probably know this firm. I think there's probably a lot of people in the New York, New Jersey area that are on this webcast right now. And WIS actually has, they've named their client accounting practice WIS Forward, your inside source for success. And then they've got, and this is great, they've got 3 different categories. They've got, people always do, silver, gold, and platinum. They've got bike, drive, and fly. And bike is, basic, accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounts reconciliations, outside payroll, cash flow, and sync software. So that's, here, that's their introductory kind of client accounting services. Then they got Fly, CFO services, tax consulting, IT consulting, strategic planning. So this is where this category is now, where firms aren't just, don't just know the verticals they're in. They're actually beginning to, really get the marketing right, and that's how this new areas usually evolve. It takes a while to kind of get your positioning and messaging for your service right, but if you go to a lot of firm websites now, and they're really doing a great job with it.
Erik, this is Sharon. We skipped over our second poll question, so we'd like to get that launched here.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries. It's good content. We're all listening.
Let's do the poll, because we have 2 polls here, I think, coming up. All right.
Okay, Eric, the poll has been launched.
All right. So, what role has technology played in your practice? You've heard it, how I've been describing it. Let's see how you're seeing it.
Let's keep it open for a couple of seconds more, about 10 more seconds. Okay, there you go. Close the poll, please, Jonathan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great results here. So, 72% change productivity, absolutely. I mean, it's making us all more efficient. But I'm excited actually. The thing that, I think is probably almost one of the most important ones is the 52% that says it's evolved the service we offer. And that, that lines up with what I'm seeing. I wouldn't expect that to be much higher. And then, change the way we price services in staffing requirements, a third apiece. So these results are in line with what I'm seeing across the country. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about this slide, and then why don't we run, because I do want to run the next poll before I go to the next slide. That might help with, I don't want to get that next poll out before I start talking about this next subject, but I'll get the audience ready for it. Oh, you've already gone to it, so let me, you're moving fast here. So how are you applying SARS-21? So we are now into the standard portion of this today's update. SARS-21 is I won't comment until we get the results. Okay, we're close. 90. We're okay. 5 more seconds.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So SARS-21, not 40% not familiar with it. 40% aware of it but not adopting it. 17% adopting new standard. 4% making Section 70 a part of our client service. So, okay. I would say this is, this spring when I was out presenting a lot, I was in a lot of rooms where, half the people were not familiar with it. So that's changing. But so those not familiar with it, I look forward to kind of giving you a background on it. And for the 40% aware but not adopting it yet, really, I want to help you think about this. And then we got 20% adopting new standard, and I'll tell you, this is absolutely, one of the biggest non-audit standard changes in the past 35 years. So I think this is something that's going to play a big role in client accounting practices. So I'm going to get into it now, but before I do, let me just give you this quote from Larry Summers, one of the probably one of the brightest people in the U.S. He helped 2 presidents navigate the Great Recession, Bush and Obama, and a former Secretary of Treasury, and also was president of Harvard. So I do like this quote. He's a kind of someone who looks at changing markets, and he said, if you look at the history of the American capital market, there's probably no innovation more important than the idea of generally accepted accounting principles. So that's something for all of you to use. To say it is. There's a lot of truth there. There's a lot of innovation actually in accounting, and it's one of the things that really helps the U.S. capital market do so well. So let's now move to this new standard for client accounting, which on this slide you see we're noting is one of the most significant non-audit standard changes of the past 35 years. And what SARS-21 does, it's a review compilation and preparation standard, coming out of the AICP ARCS committee. It's creating a bright line between accounting preparation and reporting services, the compilation and review services. And one of the drivers for this was the cloud-based environment that we all live in, and it's really adapting these older standards to support the new world of how work is done between the firm and the client. And 2 years ago, I had a number of firms would come up to me and say, the compilation standard is making it hard for us to compete with non-CPA firms in client accounting. And some people have said to me about this new standard is it kind of takes the handcuffs off. So I'll just give you a little bit more about the issue. There was issues where people that were providing client accounting services, and they were under the compilation service, and at the end of the day, they said the client only wanted the preparation of the financial statement, in the actual report was just not. It was causing confusion. The discussion around if they're independent or not, and then non-CPA firms did not have to adhere to that. So now let me just get into a little bit about what the new standard is, and then I'm going to talk about how I think you can really, or how we think that you can really, build your client accounting practice in a better way with it.
Hey, Larry, I don't mean to, excuse me, Eric, I don't mean to interrupt. We have a few questions. You want to take those now, or you want to wait until the end of the session? It's up to you.
Let me just look at my little question area here.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So let's do. What does BPO stand for? Great question.
There you go.
All right. Sorry, I didn't cover that acronym. Business Process Outsourcing. BPO. Business Process Outsourcing. A lot of firms use that to describe their outsourced client accounting department. Let me see. I gotta expand my box here. Maybe if you could read the question, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I can read them for you. I have everything here for you. Can you give us examples of successful firms embracing the commoditization of the practice?
Embracing the commoditization, just trying to operate at the low end. I think it's a very dangerous spot to be in. I think if you are, looking to compete and provide really low cost, low margin bookkeeping services, I worry about your model over the next 5 years as things get automated, the bank reconciliations of the syncs into the banks and all of that, the zero entry becomes more and more of a reality. So I think that is, so do I know of some firms who are doing okay, providing low-end services? Yes. Is it hard to be the Amazon of the accounting category? I would say yes. So that's going to be it's going to be a challenge.
Okay, we can hold we have a few more. We can hold them to the end of the session.
Just give me another question. It'd be great. Give me the one on SARS 21. I saw that.
Okay, sure. No problem. Which firms are set for the tomorrow quadrant?
I would say that's, I like to say that is progressive firms. So it's mindset over size. There's traditional firms, just looking at traditional practice, doing traditional tax work, traditional audit work. That's good business. Some progressive firms, and they're firms of all sizes. I got a chart here at the end that shows you there's a whole bunch of them, and there's a number of them in the top 100. There's a number of mid-sized firms and a lot of small firms. And what's the SARS 21 question? SARS want to bring up?
Actually, the last question I have here is regarding return opportunities. Where do you see big data?
I think big data is going to be playing a bigger role in the analytics and the audit area. I'm seeing a lot of large firms putting a lot of dollars into that. Big dollars. Some of the big four, but and then I think if I'm thinking about the smaller firm, the big data, capabilities in your budgeting and forecasting and looking at metrics and ratios. Okay, so why don't I'll jump back into the questions, and please do, let's jump back in a moment, and we'll take a couple more, Ben. So, all right, so compilation versus preparation, this might help answer a couple. When does the standard apply for compilation? The standard now is when an accountant is engaged to perform a compilation. So you always need to have an engagement letter. When you're engaged to form a compilation, you follow that standard. And then on financial preparation, this is one thing you need to explain to your client. When you're engaged to prepare financial statements. And as I mentioned a moment ago, cloud computing kind of brought about this change because it was unclear, who was, if the firm was doing some work, anybody could push print. So now, in the way 20 years ago, it was clear, whoever kind of produced the printed document. Produce the financial statement. But now in this world with this new standard, in many cases, I think a lot of cases, the client, if you're doing client accounting services, you're just going to sign an engagement letter to prepare financial statements under SARS 21 Section 70, and then you're not going to have to determine if you're independent. You're not going to have to issue a report. But you're going to issue the financial statements, and you're going to put a legend at the bottom. And I'll talk about that in a moment. That's going to be able to kind of differentiate you from a bookkeeping firm. And then if you're doing a compilation, all the same same kind of rules apply that were there previously, where you have to determine if you're independent, and then you issue in your report. You have to disclose if you're not independent. And at times, there still is going to be a need for compilation services if that's what the bank's requiring. So, a lot of new thinking required here, because I've been in presentations and people are like, well, what's my client gonna, my client's gonna be confused, and yeah, they will be confused, but you need to, help them understand this. I think we view this as a huge opportunity to reposition or re-educate, and to really differentiate your client accounting practice. And to state that you are providing outsourced accounting services or BPO services, and you're doing it following a standard, which requires the code of conduct and ethics behind it, and really differentiates you from that run-of-the-mill bookkeeping firm out there. And then you also should talk to your clients about, there might be a time where they do want a compilation or review, or if that's not something you do, you can refer that to another firm. I don't have the example. I thought I might have in this presentation. I don't have the example of the legend requirement. But what you're going to be able to do is in the legend, you'll have to state, and the legend's the footer of the financial statement. Same thing, legend footer. And you'll have to state that no assurance was provided, but you then can, that's what it's not, but then you can say no assurance was provided, but this was delivered by, WISC Ford Client Accounting Services following the SARS 21 Section 70 standards. So then it kind of gives it a little bit, greater oomph on the value that's going into this information you're providing your client, and they could leverage that with their investors and lenders. So now let me just see, are there any other back to you, Ben, are there any other SARS 21 questions I didn't answer?
Let me take a quick look. SARS 21, bring up CPAs to be competitive with non-CPA accountants.
Yeah, that's what I was, so thank you for the question, and that's what I was stating, that I do think so. I mean, I'll tell you, I had firms told me they were going to create a non-CPA firm before this came out, and you absolutely now, you You now have a standard that you can follow to prepare financial statements. And I actually think this is more than just level the playing field. I think if you position a marketer right, it puts the CPA firm at an advantage. So if there's some non-CPA firms,
one last question, then again.
Go ahead.
No problem. We just got this in. How are other firms dealing with this risk that you referred to before?
This risk of automation, the risk of I'm not sure what that's related to. What do you think, Ben?
I believe when it came in, it probably was related to the risk of automation as far as the timestamp on the question.
Yeah, I just think how firms are dealing with this. This is something to, I think automation is the is the friend of someone who's going to specialize and provide unique knowledge. One thing we like to say is be famous in your category, know your category, know the right ratios, the tax rules, and that's how the tax business has been over the years. So that's how you deal with the risk is don't be a generalist. Automation is really creating problems for generalists. But if you have some special knowledge in a particular niche or vertical, then automation is something that can really help you build a more successful practice. So let's continue on here. I know we are just looking at the clock here. I do have a few more slides. So one line. This is easy. The cloud is the computer. This is actually a slide from Nicholas Carr, how he talks about it. It's really the next stage of IT democratization. User-friendly online interfaces, easy buying, easy configuring, easy monitoring. This is one thing that I discussed with him. We don't know what is, Excel is kind of the killer tool of the last 30 years for finance people. But what's the cloud spreadsheet? I think we know, everyone knows, the new navigation systems, Google, those are like the consumer, killer apps. What's the cloud spreadsheet? To be determined. I think, the cloud accounting is pretty powerful. I'm not sure if it's at the cloud spreadsheet level yet. And then this is clear. IT is an enabler, not a gatekeeper. That's at the small firm level and the large firm level. IT should not be telling you what you should not do. IT should be helping you get it done. One thing that we're seeing is just, and I know this is, I think this is something that Accountantsworld embraces here at CPA.com. We do. The exciting world we're in today now is everybody's leveraging, all the people that are building these applications, be it these technology companies in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. They're doing it in Amazon Cloud Services, everyone's moving out of their data centers, and this is really one of the key drivers of Amazon's market cap. I understand that I think they just passed Walmart in market cap, and one reason is because of their growth and allowing people to leverage their Amazon Web Services to build their business. And a lot of CPA.com, the programming we're doing now, we're not buying any servers or anything like that. We're just doing it virtually via Amazon Web Services. So I'm not going to get into any more on that. This is just kind of, SaaS was the word for the cloud a few years ago. This is a study. This is a slide from Gartner. This is where the world's going. Desktop software is in decline, but it's going to be a long tail, long tail. But where you want to be with your future applications is SaaS or the cloud, is shown by the growing green on that slide. And if this is another slide, from Gartner, a leading technology consulting group, this is how they see, and I like it, is how they see the small business applications over by 2020, which is now just 4 or 5 years away. Suites are going to be replaced by loosely coupled applications. Even someone like Intuit is completely on board with APIs and integrations. So I think that's what we're all about here. and it takes work. They don't all work seamlessly, but the future is true cloud solutions. It's not having your local IT person put hosted solutions up in their data center. These are true cloud solutions that have integrations between them. Think Salesforce, think platforms like that. I'm just going to comment on this final point here on security, because this is something that is brought up to me from time to time. Cybersecurity in the cloud, and you and your clients see a lot of these high-profile cyber attacks. And what we're saying is, what you need to think about is how you manage, contain, and react to these threats, and that's really the cloud providers. That's not firms. I mean, if outside of the big four firms, you really don't have the resources to deal with this, and it really makes sense to be leveraging a true SaaS cloud solution. The bigger companies like an Amazon or Google or Microsoft, they actually have cybercrime divisions to deal with these threats. The FBI director states there's two types of companies, those that have been breached and those that will be breached. So the key thing here is how you manage, contain, and react to these threats. And what we're advising the firms to do is when you do select a cloud-based company, if it's not a blue chip name, you should make sure that they have a SOC report, or they're leveraging best practices, and that's something that we put a lot of due diligence into here at CPA.com with our solutions. So how do you adopt? There was a question about how firms are building success. This is the classic crossing the chasm slide that's been a blueprint for the past 25 years for tech companies going to market. And where we think we are is right now with the profession is the early majority, the pragmatists, and another nice name. Pragmatists are now seeing the return on these tools and the opportunity. And you see bowling pins there. And what that signifies, again, is what I've been stating throughout this presentation, is the way to win is to focus on verticals and niches. That's how, those are the pain points, and that's how markets get adopted. And I showed you that slide earlier of the different verticals we're seeing great success in around client accounting, and that's what's happening in this category. So here, these are firms that we're working with that have implemented cloud platform solutions in the client accounting space with us. You can see the top 100 firms represented here, the top 500, but small firms. And one thing we like to say, it's the Great Equalizer. You're a 10-person firm with these web-based, cloud-based capabilities. You can now put in the same solution that McGladrey's putting in for their clients. So it's exciting. Never been a better time to be in a small firm. The key is to be a progressive firm, to be open to change. So, we talked about this.
And Eric, let's get our last poll question.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's get our last poll question in before we hit 3 o'clock, if we want to get to our last poll.
Yep. Let me see the poll here. Okay. This is a surprise one anyway. You said there'll only be 3 poll questions. We got a bonus one for you. So what percentage of the technology you use daily is cloud-based? Now we got some honest people out there. I can't believe that 13% say 0, because that means they're not even using Google, I guess. But that it's all about kind of how you think about the question. 43% very little. 20, about half, 20%, a lot are in the 18 and 6% category. So. Well, let me continue here. I'm going to give you some other resources that will help you think about these new tools. I'm going to give you a few more specifics. This is an interesting example, real quickly, of over-reliant technology. Here's a bus that hit an underpass, and the driver was saying, the cops interviewed him and said there was 5 signs leading up to this. Why did you hit it? And he said, I was just paying attention to my GPS. So that's what you got to tell your clients. You cannot over-rely on technology. Technology can't do everything. That's where the trusted advisors come in, and you need to configure their cloud-based solutions. You need to configure their bill payment processes, and then provide them expertise and insights. So just a little bit on resources. We've talked about a lot today. At CPA.com, we do have a lot of white papers. We have a lot of case studies, all available for free, highlighting success that firms of all sizes. And there's case studies on building a restaurant practice, building a not-for-profit. So I encourage you to take a look at that. We also have a webcast series that we're talking about a lot of what we're talking about here with on the expert series with Accountantsworld. And then at the end of the year, we bring it all together in a digital CPA conference. This year, it's going to be in Vegas. And there's tracks there that you can just learn how to put in place all these different solutions, and then there's a lot of strategy components as well. You can get a copy of this presentation, slideshare.net, CPA.com, and this presentation, per what Ben said earlier, is also going to be available on Accountantsworld. So with that, is there any final questions? I know we've got about 1 minute left here, Ben, so I don't know if you have any wrap-up. I really appreciate this opportunity to be in front of the Accountantsworld community.
Sure. There's a one question. Hold on 1 second. There's a lot of questions they're trying to get in here. Does the engagement letter need to reference SARS 21 or any special language in it?
That's you know what? I'm not just gonna. That's a good question. I mean, the engagement letter needs to describe the services that you're providing, and I do not want to give that level of a technical answer. What I will say is we've got a SARS 21 accounting guide that's available, and I would recommend that you get that, and that can give you all of that answer that question and more.
Okay, that's fantastic. Given that we're right at the end of our session, I want to thank you for the time that you spent with us, both our customers, hopefully potential customers, and excuse me, and our presenter. If there are any questions that anyone has, please contact Accountantsworld. We'll try to help you out as much as we can. And as previously mentioned, if you go to accountantsworld.com and you go under webinars, under expert series webinars, you'll see today's presentation, and you'll be able to download any of the decks and any of the handouts that we have available. I want to thank everybody for your time and your attention, and we look forward to everyone attending a future session down the road. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.